welcome to the Salt City Gamescast. This is Gamescast 151, and this week it fucking feels like it. My name's Nick Naylor. Sitting across from me is Jared Alm.
Hey,
anything new going on over there?
there's a few things going on.
We are recording this on a Friday, a couple days post Liberation Day. There's a lot going on in the old world, and not a lot of it seems to be good. But we're here. We do a podcast. We have drinks and we talk about stuff. So that's what we're gonna do.
We're gonna try to,
and it's gonna be hard to not get a little political as we go through some of the things. But I screwed up. I made us whiskey sours, and I was gonna make us. I had a great dad joke ready. I was gonna use the egg whites. Gonna be like, I don't know how long we're gonna be able to afford to do this. Because as I was making them the other day, and my wife was like, "Will you take it easy with those? Because it's $1 an egg, so it's adding the cost on your fucking drinks." And that I don't know, maybe it'll be like $3 an egg real soon.
I don't really like eggs, so I'm all right with it. I mean, I feel for everyone that does like eggs, but what I will say is, my parents have lots of chickens. And like the last time I was there, they just had like stacks and stacks and stacks of fucking eggs. And I'm like, you got to get rid of some of these eggs. So I'm pretty sure my parents, if they're smart, are raking in the dough right now.
Yeah, they're going to suddenly be extraordinarily wealthy.
Yeah.
Oh Lord. You don't like eggs? I don't like eggs either. I like egg whites in a cocktail.
Sure.
And but like, I'm like, sometimes I will take a bite of like a scrambled egg and it'll immediately make me feel nauseous. And I'm so to a point where I'm just like, am I allergic to these things? But then other times it's like, okay. So
I don't really like the taste of eggs. I don't mind them scrambled, and I don't mind them if they're in things. But it can't just be like, here's an egg, you eat it. You know what I mean? I just I don't know. And I'm not like one of those type of people that get like freaked out about foods. I've got a pretty iron stomach and will eat most things. I'll try it at least. But yeah, just I don't like the taste of them. They just never done it for me.
Mm-hmm.
It's also kind of a disgusting thing if you think about it.
Yeah, for sure. It's
all of it is kind of gross.
It's.
I know they're extremely good for you and like probably missing out on that stuff, but like. It's not a big part of my day-to-day diet.
If your health goes south later, you can be like,
he didn't eat enough eggs.
I think it's more gonna be the milk that you don't drink. I think that's a bigger problem.
I don't drink milk either. I don't like it.
Seems like a pretty big fucking problem.
Why?
I don't know. I've drank so much milk my whole life. It just when you were like, "There's no milk in my house," I was like, "Do you want me to bring you some?"
That's not true. There's milk in my house. My girlfriend loves milk.
Oh,
I just don't drink milk. No, we always have milk. It's just like one of those things where like, and I drank it my entire life too. I was forced to, which I don't think is a good thing to do to your kids. Just in retrospect, I mean, it was the '90s, is a little bit different time. But if I had children, I don't think I'd be like, hey, you don't like this thing? Well, you better fucking finish all of it.
Yeah.
But that was, kind of the par for the course back then. So yeah, I drank a ton of milk, and it's also, propaganda, big milk.
Good milk is in there.
Yeah. It was like, it does such good things for your bones. But then it's like, there are people that are naturally adverse to it, like allergic to it.
Yeah.
And then also like, what other fucking beings drink it after birth? Or like infancy.
Yeah.
Not many. Not many. Yeah. Just saying.
They had a real good marketing campaign in the 90s.
You just get Kevin Garnett and fucking have him dunk a basketball with a milk mustache and you're off to the races.
That's all you need. I need you to tell me about this. This is delicious. This thing that you brought over.
Yeah. It's called it's Boonhaben. So we've had Boonhaben, I believe is the 12-year on previous show. I got this bottle like a couple months ago and it's just been sitting. I haven't really drank much of it. Still a very full bottle. But I absolutely love Boonhaben. I think it's a fantastic distillery. It's one of the only Isla distilleries that does not use peat.
Yeah, so, I was just going to say.
So you can say, I like Isla products if you're not a fan of peat.
I think this is really good. I like it quite a bit.
Well, it's
mellow. It's an easy drinker.
It's an easy drinker. But I still think that the thing that's interesting about Bunnahabhain is they kind of instill some of those flavor profiles from Islay whiskeys because they're right smack dab in the middle. And it's kind of puzzling to me that, the Islay production of whiskey was kind of a necessity, at least early on, like back in the 1800s. So that's all those motherfuckers had was, peat bogs to use as a combustible material. And these guys are smack dab in the middle of the island. And they're just like, nah, we're not gonna do it. You know what I mean?
It's odd.
It's kind of weird, but like also,
it's like the people brewing beer in Italy. When I was in Rome, and I was like forcing my wife, I'm like, we gotta go to the brewery. She's like, why would we do such a thing? And you go there, and it's like, what are you doing in here? In the wrong zone.
So a lot of the Buddha products that I've tried are all fantastic. The downside is they're pretty hard to find. You don't see them often. I've been trying to expand my collection of them, and I failed this week. In fact, my girlfriend was in San Francisco, went to one of my favorite bottle shops, and they only had this in the 12, and I was like, "Fuck, I have both of those." So nothing new there, but it's one to keep your eye out on. I think that if you ever run into it, it's a fantastic product, and this one is like their lower end stuff. Like I think this bottle is like $50 or $60, so it's reasonable.
I think that's great for how much I like it. I think that's a shocking price point.
Yeah, I think that the 12 year is a little bit better. There's no age statement on this, I'm pretty sure. So
that's kind of weird.
It's a little young tasting, but I think it's a good product for like their. I would not be angry like putting this in a cocktail as well.
No.
This is something that I learned about. What do they call them? There's like a specific name. I can't remember the name of it. It's actually a pretty catchy name, but I can't remember it off the top of my head. But apparently there's like a subset of people that absolutely love taking Islay whiskey and mixing it with Coke.
Gross.
Yeah.
I mean, we got to try it, but gross.
Smoke Coke smoke, something like that. I think that's the cocktail. There's more people than you would think that are into that shit.
Clearly, I don't like Coke, so I can't imagine it winning me over, but we got to dabble.
People say that there's something with that peatiness, and then
smoke Coke.
Yeah, we should try to find like a $400 bottle of Octomore, the peatiest whiskey that exists. I see those. Like in my travels, like whiskey hunting, I see the Octomores, like they release them all the time. I think they release like 3 or 4 a year. And I'm just like, do I want the peatiest whiskey that exists? Yeah, I do.
Kinda, yeah.
I absolutely do to try it. But then I'm also like, they're all like $400. Do I want a $400 bottle of peaty, the peatiest whiskey ever? That like, I like peaty whiskey, but it's a sometimes snack. It's not something that you pull off the shelf. At least I don't on a regular basis. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree with that.
I buy a bottle of it and it will sit on my shelf for a few years.
Yeah.
And I'll work through it. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, thankfully Bunnahabhain's not in that category, man.
Okay. All right. Good times. Well, let's jump right into it and talk about the Nintendo Switch 2. And I think the way we'll do it is let's just talk about everything they announced, the whole deal.
Yeah.
And then we'll get into the political fallout once we're done talking about this thing. I think the first issue I have is that we've been waiting so long. I think it's 8 years. Not 8 years for the new one, but that's when the last Switch came out. And it just builds. It's just been building where I'm just like really kind of hype myself up to maybe unrealistic expectations as we get into what this was. But a lot of this stuff was known as far as like the design, the size of the screen's a little bigger. I think that's cool. I thought it was interesting that the thickness is the same. That's cool too. I've seen reports that basically they're like, it just feels like the Switch, which is good. So it doesn't feel like anything huge. I'm really interested in seeing those magnet Joy-Cons that attach and just to see I haven't seen anyone complain like to feel like they're loose or anything. So it seems like they've got a technology there that is sound, and that sounds pretty awesome to me.
I saw some people in the press yanking on those motherfuckers at that release, the event that they did right after the State of Play or whatever the fuck they call it, the live Nintendo Direct. That's what it's called. And yeah, they were yanking on it and no issues. Seems like it's pretty sound. It'll remain to be seen how long those magnets last over time. One of the interesting things that I did see though is you can slot them in the wrong way and it works. It remains to be seen if the game or the system actually functions.
But it will just clip in.
But you can clip them in the wrong way.
It's interesting.
And everything's like ski wampus. So like I could see people getting confused.
Sure.
Like if your uncle comes over and he's like, what the fuck do I do? And it's like all wrong, you know? So I don't know.
Huh, interesting. They had kind of built it up on social media leading into the announcement. They're like, well, what does the C button do? And I feel like if you're going to build it up, it needs to not be a feature that was invented 18 years ago or something. Like it's basically the chat, the communication button, I believe. And so they come out and they're like, we've invented voice chat. You can talk to each other now, everyone. And it's very Nintendo like to come out and be like, yeah, fucking welcome to the party. We don't have to use a phone app anymore. Okay, like that's good. Good job.
I wasn't like blown away by the tech, but I do think that it's kind of neat, just because you don't need headphones, and the way that they display it in the preview was like you can be sitting pretty far away from it, like it's on your entertainment stand, you're on a couch, and it will also, you know, mute background noise, things like that you would see in like Zoom or Teams or something like that. And then the function and ability to like put your face on the screen, like, is that something I'm ever going to use? No.
I'm buying you the camera.
Okay.
So I'm going to make you, if we're playing a game, I'm going to be like, where's the camera, Jared?
Yeah. Did you see that they have the Piranha Plant camera?
No.
Like it's just the Piranha Plant like coming out of the pipe with its like mouth being the camera.
That's
itself. It's kind of cool. And apparently in a very non-Nintendo fashion, you can use cameras that you have laying around if it's compatible, which I think is a cool thing.
Yeah, that's a surprising thing.
For sure. So I don't, yes, you're right. It is kind of like you're like 10 years behind, but also I think this is a little bit different and kind of unique in the way that they're implementing it. And then also I think the biggest thing that I think people are going to use this for, if they implement it, which remains to be seen, is for like streaming and things like that. I think it's a no-brainer to be able to just stream directly from the console to like Twitch or something like that.
I can't imagine wanting to be talking to you and having your voice come through the speakers on my entertainment center. Like I don't think I would like that. I think but on the flip side, like for kids who are like 10 or 14 playing Mario Kart with their friends or something, that maybe totally plays. But my personal preference is if I'm voice chatting, I'm going to want over the ear headphones on and the whole deal.
Sure, but we're old, Nick.
That's true.
And
are we not the target demographic for this?
I don't think so.
We might be because of
because we're the only ones that can afford it. Yeah. No, fair point. So yeah, I mean, whatever. The bigger question marks, which like I can come out and already answer this question: is there going to be friend codes still? Yes, there's going to be friend codes still. Why? I don't fucking know. They need to do away with friend codes. Well, I mean, the friend code sucks. Just like come up with, I mean, just cheat and emulate any of your competitors that have been doing it for decades now.
It's pretty funny. It's pretty amusing. But we already knew a decent amount about the hardware. We were finally gonna see the games, and they led with Mario Kart, and it was, I had pretty low expectations of what they were gonna try and do with Mario Kart, and I would say that they exceeded those expectations just because it's at least unique, like the open world aspect where it's the Forza Horizon of Mario Kart, essentially. That at least was like, well, that's kind of interesting. that's at least something new to check out, where Mario Kart, in my opinion, is kind of a little stale. Although I will probably have a lot of fun with this because I have a daughter who's going to be super into it. But I'm pretty interested in like that open world aspect, drive from race to race, and is that really something that I enjoy, or does it end up just kind of being tedious? Because if you're going to compare it to like Forza Horizon, they have a lot of shit in between. It's not just drive from race to race. There is an enormous amount of stunts and like secret things to find. And is that going to be here in this one?
I hope you would think so, because like when you were talking, I was thinking about like what makes those moments between races and like a Forza interesting, aside from what you highlighted, is like the visuals, right?
Yeah.
You're like, we're in Peru or wherever the fuck. I know one was in England. I don't think one's been in Peru, but like emulating that like cruising in the USA like vibe where it's like, there's a Tyrannosaurus Rex over there. I'm going to do a 360 in this fucking Corvette. Like Nintendo is just chock full of that shit. There's just so many things that you could implement and make your drive between points visually compelling. So like, it would be a pretty big disappointment if that's not there. I would expect this to probably nail that.
Especially because they are the company that makes 3D Marios and Zeldas, which are chock full of that stuff. So if it has that, and I mean, I would want, my complaint on previous Mario Karts was like a lack of good progression. And if there's stuff to find, then it's a little more of something to chase.
Sure.
So that would maybe be nice. It looks like you have a shitload of racers in this game, and you could have some boats. I don't think boats were in previous ones. Looks cool.
Yeah, I mean, overall, this is like kind of a no-brainer. And it's kind of
a long time.
It's a smart idea to kind of like, evolve the formula of Mario Kart. So yeah, I don't know. Like
Mario Kart's their biggest game, I believe, by as far as their biggest seller. I think it's their biggest
certainly
seller by a good margin.
I at least know that they sold copies consistently of it for like an ungodly amount of time.
What was the last one? Mario 8?
Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, which was the last Switch release.
Yeah, it just is. 75 million sales seem like a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. For one game specifically, like some like series struggled to reach those numbers, right?
I think most.
Talking about like one game title
for sure
making that much money is pretty outrageous. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it obviously there was really no surprise that this was going to be the first game shown off in their showcase. I think what was a little bit more surprising is the lack of other first party titles that were shown off in this showcase.
Yeah, for sure. They showed a lot of third party support. And for some people, it could really be compelling. The problem is it's a lot of third party support of games that have come out previously.
Right.
And it still like, yeah, you and I aren't going to get much out of that, but some people really might enjoy that. If they just had the Switch and move to the next one, well, that's pretty impressive. Elden Ring's going to be on the thing. I can't imagine it's going to run too well, but Elden Ring runs on the Steam Deck.
Right?
Yeah. It runs on the Steam Deck. I mean, you still go from a PC to the Steam Deck and you immediately are kind of like, it's a little jarring.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it was at 30 frames. So you could do some shit.
That's playable.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's like playing on a PS4, which is what this thing is probably going to be like. Handheld PS4.
So, I mean, there's a lot of support there. I think you're going to continue to see that because 100%. They sell so many, like they're going to sell, presumably, a lot of Switches. So that install base is going to be there. And I think you're just going to keep seeing people port things over there. That's fine. That's great. I'm going to get the stuff out of order of what I saw. I was very surprised that they are I was a little irritated because it was like, hey, most games are gonna work. Most Switch 1 games, or I don't remember exactly how they worded it, but they worded it in a way that was like, oh, so not all. Shit. Okay.
Yeah.
But now I've heard a little better things where a lot just maybe haven't been tested totally. And
right.
I think where this is going to fall is that generally your Switch One games are going to work. There's a Labo game that absolutely will not work.
Right. Yeah, it's the same thing with the PS5 when it came out. There was like, I mean, I saw your posted Discord, and I was like thinking to myself, pump the brakes a little bit, because this is common
for sure,
verbiage when a new console releases. And I have a massive library of PS4 games. I have not found a single PS4 game that doesn't work on the PS5. I expect it to probably be pretty similar. There might be a few outliers here and there, but certainly the games that most people are interested in playing on the Switch 2 100% are going to work.
Yeah.
So
I think so. And then they talked a little bit about some games. They are going to go in there and do some work on them and essentially have an upgrade path for the better version. I think the Zeldas fall into this category where you will have to pay some amount of money to get the upgraded visuals. And in some cases, like the Mario Party one, I'm actually maybe a little more okay with. Not that I'm a Mario Party guy, but they are adding stuff. There are games and things that are being added. There's things with the mouse support, and then that kind of changes the discussion a little bit. I'm a little concerned about charging me $10 so I can have the Zelda map on my phone. Like, what exactly are we doing here? I just want Tears of the Kingdom to run better. And you need to convince me that it's not just a slider you had to turn up and then charge me $10 or
were they
whatever.
Explicit about that though? Like, that was kind of my takeaway. Like, I don't think they explicitly said that they're going to gate, like, if you're running a Switch version of Tears of the Kingdom and you're not upgrading to this new version, is the game going to just run at the same fidelity and frame rate that it did on the original Switch if you don't upgrade? Like, I don't think that they explain that clearly, which I think is a problem.
I'm a little worried at the lack of information regarding our game's just going to run better.
Right.
Some absolutely are, and they absolutely showcase them, but they were spotlighting them, saying we've done the work. So I'm a little worried of the games that they didn't do the work, aka like I'm going to put Xenoblade 3 in there. They did not talk about Xenoblade 3.
Yeah.
Does it automatically run better? And if it doesn't, that's a big fucking problem.
It's a huge problem. I think we talked about it through text. I think it's an incredibly scummy business model. I'm trying to think of another company that has done something similar to that, where
the upgrade paths, the last generations had them for some games.
Well, I'm talking about like the way that I'm looking at this. I know that this is like a brand. This is like the next generation of the Switch hardware. But like when you compare like the PlayStation 4 Pro or the PS5 Pro to the base models, Sony wasn't like, hey, we've got this game that you already bought, and if you want it to run at a better frame rate and higher fidelity, you have to pay us $10. Like, that's what I'm saying is problematic. And I think that it's a huge mistake if Nintendo goes that way, because there's going to be so many people that are going to complain and be angry about that. You can't do that. Like, again, I'm okay. Yes, like the Mario Party example is a good example because they showcased new features that are going to utilize the new features of the hardware.
They're cheating. They're getting a pseudo new Mario Party by like just repackaging and adding a couple things. Essentially.
But you cannot, if you as a consumer purchase Tears of the Kingdom on the Switch, thank you. We appreciate your business. You have a physical copy of this, or you have it downloaded on your Switch too. Like, it should just run better on the beefier hardware, with like no asterisks being like, you got to give us $10. And we're just throwing $10 out as like a projected price. Like, who fucking knows? Like, we know for a fact, just based on what they released on the Nintendo website, that these versions that are Switch 2 specific of Tears of the Kingdom, and it's like a bundle, I think. You get Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild. It's $70. So it's like, what is the buy-in price if you're actually going to charge us for like better frame rates and better fidelity?
I don't know where everyone else falls on this. I can say that I've listened to two podcasts that I regularly listen to since the announcement, and both of them, everyone's throwing around the $10, and again, we don't know where that is, but both of them said, yeah, that seems fair. And I paid attention to it because I knew that you had been texting me about it, and I was just like, I think people are I mean, this is 2 podcasts, so like maybe people are gonna be mad about it, but they were just like, yeah, that makes sense. And I'm just like, well, I'm not sure.
How does that make sense?
I'm not sure if it does. Like, you need to tell me why it makes sense or something. Like, you need to tell me that you really had to do some fucking work on this thing. I don't.
No. Yeah, I guess you would have to say we had to like rebuild a bunch of assets. And to be fair, and we'll probably say this a couple more times during this conversation, we're just a bunch of assholes that have a podcast, and we don't work in the industry, and we don't know what's going on behind the scenes with this kind of stuff.
We just imagine a slider that's like good graphics, better graphics, and you just move it.
It's certainly got to be a very similar architecture that they're using for these games. And it's Nintendo. Like, when you look at, architecture from Nintendo, they generally don't stray. They generally are like, we lock into this and then we find a better version of whatever is in the previous console and we use that, right? So I'm just comparing it to a PC where everything's just seamless and you get a beefier PC. Yep. It works. Your lower end PC, it works. Not as well. It shouldn't be any different with this. And maybe it is. Maybe it is. But I'm going to call bullshit on that. I'm going to be a little ignorant and arrogant and say, like, you're just fleecing your consumers because you're fucking Nintendo. And
seems like it. And it's something that I would absolutely pay for is the problem. Like that Tears of the Kingdom, where it's like Tears of the Kingdom has a really good art style, has some really good looking things in it. You tell me I can get things to be a little more crisp. That's a big deal to me because that game's a little blurry, a little muddy. So to get better visuals, I'm like, well, yeah, I'm going to pay it.
This is the one time where you're
like putting your foot down.
No, it's not necessarily that I'm putting my foot down. It's just more my personal preferences. Like, would I pop in Tears of the Kingdom and run it on the Switch too, just to see it, look better? Absolutely, I would. But the way that I am as a gamer, like, I just think of video game. Once I've shit it out, like, I don't want to put it back in. You know what I mean? Like, I'm done with it. I've moved on. That's my mentality with games. That's why I don't usually play DLC and things like that.
I'm just not done with it though.
I'm not done with Tears of the Kingdom either.
So I'm still at a point where, like, I've gone back to Tears twice now and dumped like another 20 hours into it each time. And I really like that game. So I'm like, yes, I'm not done with it. Xenoblade 3. Xenoblade X. I mean, there's no way I'm going to be done with it by the time this thing comes out, where those are all things that's like, well, that's pretty compelling. I just, it'll be interesting to see how many you have to pay. I just want more details on all of it.
Seems real gross from my perspective. I really don't love it.
A little bit. There's quite a few gross things. We still have to get there, but
we got plenty.
One thing I'm excited about, and I'm fine buying because I've owned it for 8 years, is the next Nintendo Pro controller.
Yeah,
absolutely. I love that controller. The new one has a couple paddles or triggers.
Sure, we'll never use them.
I don't know if I'll ever use them, but
it's great that they're there.
Like, whatever, maybe there'll be a use case. I'm very excited to buy a new controller. I have no issue paying the $80. I pay way more for the fucking other for like the Sony one that I don't like as much as that controller. So I'm pretty excited to get that thing. And new Joy-Cons are $90. That's expensive for what the current Joy-Cons I've held in my for the normal Switch. Like, you hold them, I can't imagine they're gonna feel that much different. Seems a bit pricey, but whatever.
Hori, where you at? Fucking get at me and get at us and fucking give us the prototypes for whatever you got cooking for a Switch 2, because I'm getting rid of the fucking Joy-Cons immediately.
Yeah,
as soon as I possibly can.
They are hot garbage. If I can have a Pro controller show up right away. Oh, but then I'm fucked for the handheld because it took a little while. It took some time for us to get better form factors on those.
Yeah, it was
It
was
in
the case of the original Switch.
First, was Ori that made the left one with the actual D-pad.
Yeah,
it didn't work wirelessly.
That box systems. It destroyed LCDs as well. My original, there was like some sort of weird interference with that original Hori. It was a single Joy-Con that had no motion control. It didn't have any of like if you're flipping it horizontally,
no wireless
buttons. There was no wireless in it at all.
It had to be docked. It was only for the D-pad.
Right. It was just the D-pad to get rid of the fucking stupid little buttons that they have on the original Switch. But at launch, it caused like a certain amount of screens to just go crazy and break. And I actually, on my original Switch, I was playing Mario Kart actually, and my fucking my screen like freaked the fuck out. And I just read on like forums, basically like just let it run for a long period of time and don't turn it off, plug it in and just like let it run. And hopefully it'll fix it. And it fixed it in my case, but there were many people where it like bricked their system. So that's great.
Random.
Don't do that again.
I feel like I'm going to miss some things that are, I'm just throughout the show. I am now like moving towards the end of the show. So unless there's something that jumps out that I'm missing.
There's a couple of things. So just games wise, right? You're probably thinking about this, but I'll just throw out the ones that interest me the most. At the very end, I believe it was the last one was this new Donkey Kong platformer.
Yes, that's what I was going to hit.
This Donkey Kong platformer actually looks great, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. I really like it. Looks like destructible environments. A lot of people were posting like memes of like Red Faction because that was like a destructible environment. Red Faction Gorilla is what they were calling it, which I thought was very funny.
Dan Reichert posted a really funny thing.
Yeah.
That was talking about what all the different buttons do. Mm-hmm. And it was X, destroy to the left. Y, destroy up. B, destroy to the left. A, duck.
Yeah.
or jump or something.
Yeah.
And it was just
that's like the gameplay they showed off. Very, very satisfying from my perspective. Donkey Kong looks like he's done some drugs, though. That's what I'll say.
It's the new visual on him. They changed it, right?
It does. He doesn't look like original DK, or at least modern DK.
They're moving away from Rare Donkey.
Yeah. I guess it would probably be Rare Donkey.
I think they defined him
100%
for a long time. That's pretty good. It's a pretty incredible play on words. It's Donkey. I want to say Donkey Konky because that's what my daughter calls it. I think that's a better name. But Donkey Konky Bonanza is spelled bananas, and it's real dumb, but that works.
Yeah,
I'm fine with it.
And there hasn't been a 3D platformer since fucking Donkey Kong 64, which is a pretty 3D platformer, is what I'm saying. Yeah. There's been 2D platformers, but the 3D platformer hasn't been around since the Rare game.
Donkey Kong 64 3D.
Yeah, dude. It was a Rareware game.
I gotta look it up.
Yeah. You don't remember the cartridge was yellow?
I'm pretty sure I had the game. I'm just trying to remember. I think I have it in my house. So.
Yeah, it was Rareware developed, hot off the heels of their success with Banjo and Kazooie. Mm-hmm. I don't know where it fell in like the Banjo and Kazooie, Banjo Tooie, timeline, but it's definitely a Rare game. And I think that game looks promising and neat. I definitely will check that out, especially because there's not that's the only other first party game they showed off, really.
Well, kind of, but let's like that game comes out pretty soon. I think it was
July,
a month or two. Yeah, like a month after release, which that was kind of interesting because it's like, well, all right, that's not your holiday one, but I'm over here. I think that they're calling Metroid their holiday one because they talked about Metroid and they talked about how, it's going to run presumably quite well on this thing. They talked about 120 frames per second mode in 1080 maybe. Mm-hmm. But I feel like they're not going to come out and announce another big game for the holiday. I think they're going to announce that Metroid is coming out in October and that's the deal.
Maybe. I'm not fully on board with that. I think that we were texting about this. By the time holiday rolls around, it'll be 7 months on the market. That is a pretty substantial amount of time. And I think that they're probably pretty smart. Like where there's smoke, there's fire. There's been a lot of rumors of, I'm not saying that this is going to be the play, but there's a lot of rumors of a 3D Mario platformer. Maybe all of the rumors were the Donkey Kong game. It's possible. It's absolutely possible. But I do believe that there is a Mario game in development. Who knows how far along it is. But from my perspective, I don't think, just with like, you look at what they have announced for the Switch and then the Switch 2 for holiday, I just can't imagine that they are just going to be like, it's just Metroid. I mean, I'm very excited for Metroid. That's probably the most exciting thing that's first party that's coming out.
It's not a huge franchise for them. That's right.
It's not a huge franchise. It's never been a huge franchise for them. I mean, it's got a diehard fan base, but it's not, it doesn't move units. So I would be shocked. I'm not saying that it's Mario. I would love for it to be Mario. And there is historical precedent for it being a Mario game because some of their most popular and well-received and critically successful and financially successful Mario games have been released in the holiday cycle.
Sure.
So it's a possibility. You know, it's all speculation. We don't know what's going to happen. I just can't imagine that they don't have at least something. I mean, we're talking about
I just don't know
the
why you
perfect
wouldn't
storm.
have shown something. Even if it was that's literally what teaser
to build hype.
But that's what teaser reels are for. Like you literally, that's the last 30-second thing that you show. Like
I can see your point, but also I think that there are people that are much smarter than us that look at analytics and look at.
Are we sure that they're smarter than us? Are we positive?
No,
everything is out the window, Jared.
No, I don't. Like, I don't know that. To be fair, I'm just saying that. There is a lot of money that goes into this, and it's like, when do you talk about your game? When do you release your game?
Sure.
When do you show it off, right? And if you do a Nintendo Direct, I don't know, midpoint in between launch and holiday season, showing off a Mario game, that's going to drive up a lot of demand. And that's not only going to drive up hardware sales, or software sales, it's going to drive up the hardware sales.
And I will say that we're in like Nintendo does not typically do for most of their games long announcement cycles.
Very true.
Like they have been getting really short, which I'm fine with it. Like Metroid's like the outlier in this thing, just because I feel like they had to come out and say, yes, we're going to do Metroid. But most of their games, it's just like, boom, 3 months, 5 months later.
Metroid has had a problematic development cycle.
It
got canned. The whole project got canned and restarted.
So maybe they still have something up their sleeve, and they get through Donkey Kongi, and then they announce it. They do a big direct or a direct, and you show that as something. I feel like they have a pretty good outlook. I'm just over here thinking about when games have come out. When I look at what we're going to play this year and next year, I'm like, man, I think it could be some pretty good stuff. I think you could see, I think we'll get a Fire Emblem maybe next year. I'd heard that there was already a Fire Emblem ready to go. Like I didn't hear, I don't have sources. Jeff Grubb has sources, and he had talked about saying like, there's one that's done. Like it's literally ready. So I don't know. I don't know if there's truth.
There's probably a lot of games that are ready to go. But again, it goes back to when makes sense to, I don't think that you want to blow your load out the gate. For lack of a better term, like I think that you want to stymie it out and just continue. You're going to have your early adopters for the hardware.
And you've got your biggest seller on day one.
Yeah. And then you've got a shitload of people that are going to kind of like either not be able to afford one or not be able to find one. And you just want to have something. And yes, I guess maybe the argument could be made that it's just Mario Kart. It's always Mario Kart because Mario Kart is so wildly successful for Nintendo. But I just feel like it will be a very lackluster first year for the Switch 2
if they don't have
some big titles that are still in the pipe that they will announce for holiday season.
I was thinking about it because I wasn't totally sure why I was disappointed, because they have, I think the show was okay. And I was like, well, why? What's the problem? And I think it's because that show wasn't for, we'll say, it wasn't for the freaks. Like that show is for very mainstream. What do you want to play on this thing? You're not getting any of your unicorn overlords, your numbers based JRPGs that you and I play quite a bit on this. Like none of that is here, except the remakes, and those don't count. We already played those, so I feel like that's one of the things where, and maybe those are all going to be on lesser directs and things that they put out, but those are some of my favorite games on these systems. Is those RPGs. And I think that's where I was like, yeah, obviously there was no Xenoblade. I was disappointed. not necessarily surprised.
You have to wait a while for that.
No.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, just based on last year, they're hiring to build a new engine. It's probably going to be a while, man.
That's not great. That's just not good. That's not good for my health. That's
what else was there? So they just like randomly just posted a small clip of Silksong gameplay and then posted in the bottom corner that it was coming out in 2025.
I don't even count that as an official confirmation that the game's coming out in 2025. I don't like, I saw it and I was like, I don't think that is confirmation that Team Cherry is saying absolutely. I mean, maybe, but I don't believe them.
That's pretty conspiratorial, Nick. I think that
same things happened on previous shows in previous years. Yeah, so why is it?
Because you're not going to, as Nintendo. I mean, maybe you just got a bunch of morons, but that are running the show. Sure. But you're not going to show off a highly anticipated game, arguably the most anticipated game in a lineup, and make a grand proclamation of 2025 if you don't have some sort of confirmation from the developer, in this case Team Cherry, that motherfucker is coming out in 2025 for your I mean, I know it wasn't the proper hardware reveal, but like your spec reveal. I just don't see them fumbling the bag like that. I mean, anything can happen.
I just think there's already videos out there of Silksong that have the 2022 number or the 2023 number on there. So I'm like,
I just feel like Nintendo probably went to Team Cherry and was like, "Are you motherfuckers sure?"
Like, what's the date?
And Cherry was like, "Yeah, we're fucking sure." And it would make sense with the amount of time that thing's been in development. I'm not confident enough to bet money on it. I will say that, but I would, if I had to bet, say that's probably pretty likely at some point.
That game needs to come out in the middle of the summer if it's coming out.
Yeah, sure.
It needs to come out when it's a little slower, and that thing will just control the whole narrative.
Yeah,
rather than get lost in the fall when presumably some other things are coming out.
Yeah, for sure. And then the other one that stuck out to me that I really cared about was fucking From Software making a game called Duskbloods that sure looks like a spiritual successor to Bloodborne. In
kind of an interesting successor. Like when I was watching it, immediately I was like, Bloodborne ? Because the aesthetic, and then there's like trains and things, which I guess there were probably trains. There wasn't visually trains in Bloodborne to my memory, but
I don't think so.
But the aesthetic kind of plays.
It's like Victorian era. It's like dark and grungy. And immediately, like within the first couple of seconds of the trailer, a motherfucker is sucking the blood of another person.
I mean, I was very excited. The only downside is that I was like, fuck yes, this is great. So excited to play it on the PC and not this console. And then they said it's exclusive to the Switch too.
It's a big get.
It's huge. It's pretty funny to me that Bloodborne's an exclusive to Sony, and then whatever happened with them, whether there's good blood or bad blood, and now the spiritual successor is exclusive to Nintendo, and maybe that's a timed. Maybe next year this thing goes to other places. Who knows? But the downside is like I was like, awesome. I want to play it. Looks great. Looks like a lot of fun. And then they came out after, and it's PvE. What's going on here?
I don't know if that's necessarily a bad thing for these reasons. I'm more worried about Night Rain than I am of Duskbloods, and for the simple fact that Hidetake Miyazaki is the director of Duskbloods. And with Night Rain is one of his underlings. It was one of his underlings that pitched it, and Miyazaki was just like, "Sure, go for it." When has that guy missed in modern gaming history? Name a game. You know, any of the ones that you'd be like, it's not that good. Dark Souls 2, which I actually like Dark Souls 2.
Me too. I thought it was.
But people hate that game for a lot of different reasons. Miyazaki was not, he was involved obviously, but he was not the director. So that alone gives me a lot of hope for Duskbloods. It remains to be seen. Yes, would I rather it be more focused on a single player experience? Sure. But I think that guy is just a fucking idea factory. and one of the pinnacles in game development and design. So, if he's got some interesting ideas to kind of influence that kind of genre, let's see what he's got. I reserve judgment until that thing comes out.
Well, for sure. And I'll definitely play it immediately. They're borderline one of my favorite developers, and I just don't know that their multiplayer system that they've used in games is a little abnormal. It's a little obtuse. And I don't feel like they have fully proven themselves to just show up and say, multiplayer game, here it is. Sure. I don't think you don't have the track record, which is crazy because they have the track record for a lot of stuff, but their multiplayers mechanics, they're not all encompassing multiplayer. They are instance based where you are opting into it, and then that's a slice of the game. So I'm just kind of curious as to how both of these things work out, where it's this is a huge required component where the other ones have never been mandatory.
You're not wrong, but fucking PvP in Souls games is pretty goddamn good time, man.
And I'm aware that is a hole you can go down. It's just, it's never been the star of the show.
I definitely went down that. Well, for certain people, it absolutely is, right? There are those sickos out there that are PvP heads. And yeah, it's never been the star of the show for me, but I have had a hell of a lot of fun with PvP in the past. In Dark Souls 3 in particular was the height of my PvP career with the Souls series. And I had a goddamn blast with that shit. And there it wasn't those systems were completely half-baked. There was tangible benefits for doing those modes and engaging in PvP. So we'll just have to see how it shakes out. I think it's a great get for Nintendo. And I just, again, I go back to what I said before. Miyazaki doesn't miss.
Did it say this?
He hasn't missed yet.
Did they date it?
2026.
Okay.
So no specific date, but in 2026 is when that thing's coming out, supposedly. So yeah, I mean, I feel like that's a pretty wild, that just threw me for a loop. How bad does it have to be at Sony? For them to,
you can't get it together and get this figured out.
I'm not saying that Sony has well, they obviously do, but I'm not saying it's a dumpster fire behind the scenes at Sony. I'm specifically talking about Miyazaki's relationship with Sony, and Sony is now the primary shareholder of Kadokawa, which is the parent company of From Software. So in what fucking bizarre world that we live in,
is this not called Bloodborne 2?
And on a Sony platform, you know what I mean? Something and Miyazaki is known for being a very hard-headed kind of an asshole. A lot of people have categorized him as a fucking dick. And a lot of these visionary people generally are pretty standoffish, but he in particular, I've just read a lot about him being just kind of an asshole. And so he's maybe hard to deal with. And Sony's just fuck it, go off and do whatever you're going to do. I just don't I don't know as a higher up at Sony how you let Nintendo get something like this and you don't put it out on a Sony console.
It's a huge fucking problem because Bloodborne 2 is going to come out. Whether it comes out in 2 years, 4 years, I still get this feeling that when Bloodborne 2 comes out, it's not even going to be from. That they're going to work it out, and that will not even be from Software, because it seems like they got problems, and Sony, I believe they own enough of it. I don't know. Maybe that's all off base.
I think that realistically, this was probably ink dried on paper long before Sony's large acquisition of Kadokawa. That would be my guess.
Sure, but now it's a big fucking problem because they've just been primed because it's just been building, the people wanting Bloodborne 2. People are just ready to lose their fucking mind over it. And this takes some of the wind out of the sails a little bit. Yes, it's not full on Bloodborne 2, but it's just it's pretty fucking close. It's
absolutely
it's pretty fucking close. And they just undercut you. So now if say next year or the year after, people will still be excited if it was a proper non-PvPvE, or maybe we'll only want those at that point. But when I was watching it, I was like, how the fuck did this happen? Someone has dropped the ball and not read the room properly, that Bloodborne was a very popular IP, that they let it bake and sit there idle long enough that people were like, we are so fucking ready. And they just haven't done any of it. People have just been like they've been moving all these games to PC, sending all these Sony properties. And it's just like, everyone's just like, please fucking send it to the PC.
Yeah.
They can't figure it out.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
For sure. It's puzzling for sure. But also, like, From's had their plate pretty full, right? I mean, between Elden Ring and Armored Core, and like, you know, you can only
exist. Like, you can have someone come in and do it.
Sure, you can, like, but is Miyazaki really interested in outsourcing a true sequel to Bloodborne out to anybody but From Software? I don't know if he is.
And
I could see him doing a remake of Bloodborne, but not a true sequel to somebody else. I don't see that happening.
And we don't know the levers of power as to who has how much power to, like, can Sony just say, screw you, we're going to make it? Or do they not even have the ability and they have to navigate? We don't know.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like a good parallel is like Cristiano Ronaldo plays for, you know, a team. Is he making a lot of decisions for that team?
Baseball player?
Yeah, he's a baseball player.
Pretty good.
Yeah, lots of RBIs. Whatever the fuck you say in baseball, I don't know. Sorry. But you think that Cristiano Ronaldo is not dictating terms at a team?
Because
same thing with like a visionary developer like that. And that can be problematic for a publisher or a hardware company like Sony. But like, that's just the way things go a lot of times in any industry. You know, you got somebody that's fucking real good at what they do and produces and brings the fucking heat. They get a lot of say in what's going on. So,
well, you need to stay on their good side as well, because they just released Elden Ring. So, you know, fucking. I think that's about everything that they announced. I laughed when they announced was it a remake of Bravely Default. I only laughed because I was like, you know, fix the fucking ending. Are you gonna fix the fucking making me repeat and do the same thing like 9 times in a row?
The answer is no.
If you're not fixing, like, it's the biggest. That game is so good. It's a great game. I would encourage people to play. But wow, the last few hours of that game turned into some serious bullshit. And so that's just the first thing that went through my head. I was like, you need to fix that.
Yeah, you know what's even more egregious is they did pretty much the same thing in the second game. So that's also
the second or the third. Remember, it's weird. I think you're talking about the third, because there's Bravely second, and then there's Bravely Default 2.
I'm talking about the third. Thank you. Yes, the one that ccame out on the Switch.
That's the one I didn't play because I actually liked Bravely second. I thought that was a pretty fun.
They're all good games, but they just pad the experience.
Absolutely. So we're running a little long before the break, but we gotta just stick with Nintendo stuff. So that is going to wrap up the announcement. They don't announce a price during the show. And then kind of after, you really get a lot of information kind of filtering out there. We're getting $450 for the console, which was pretty much within my expectations. I always thought $399 was going to be too low just with where the world was at. And then you get that Mario Kart is an $80 game, which is Nintendo walking into the room and just raising the bar. And it's a problem because that is a very big player in the industry walking into the room and raising the bar on a game that sells a bajillion copies. So it just sends a message industry-wide that in my opinion, it just tells everyone that your biggest games just increased to $80 period. Like, I don't know how it doesn't do that. The next Naughty Dog game is, I don't know how it's not 80. GTA is going to be maybe more. I think that they've opened the floodgates here, which is concerning, problematic in a year or years in an industry where the development cycle, it's not going well. Like games, only the biggest games are succeeding. It's just it's a tough market out there. And now they're going to make the biggest games even more expensive, which is going to draw money, disposable income from people for all these other games, for these 30, 40, 50, $60 games. And a lot of them are really fucking good. And they come out and flop and they don't get any sales because these other games take all the oxygen out of the room. And it's just a fucking problem. And it's too bad. It's not necessarily surprising that they're going to raise the price. It just sucks when I just don't see how everyone else doesn't follow suit with their big, heavy players. Next God of War is going to be $80.
Yeah,
it just is
100%. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, basic economics. You have to maintain parity, right?
And why wouldn't you? You're leaving money on the table on your biggest players, and they're opening the door for varied pricing. Because in the same conversation, they're saying that Donkey Konky's not $80.
Right. Yeah, and that. So my knee-jerk reaction was very angry. We'll probably talk about the reasons why after like the dust has settled. I have kind of readopted a different mentality about this. But initially I'm like, this is fucking scummy. Like this is a pretty scummy thing to do. But also, God damn it, Donkey Konky. Mario Kart is wildly successful for Nintendo. And so it's like, okay, that makes sense. And like, I'm not sitting here being like, I know all of like the microeconomics that goes into pricing for games. And we do have fluctuating pricing for games now, right? But when you're showing off, you post listings for the two big first party titles that are going to be at launch or close to launch. One is $10 more than the other. My initial knee-jerk reaction is like, that's incredibly scummy. You know what I mean? And how are you justifying that other than greed and knowing that Mario Kart's going to sell a shitload of copies? And
there's a quality expectation when you see the numbers too. And Donkey Kong could be better.
Yeah.
It could absolutely be better than what Mario Kart is. I mean,
sure.
They're drastically different things, but
yeah. And so like, I'm over there being like, this is not good. And you're opening the floodgates to all of these other, publishers to just jack up the price to whatever they see fit. And yeah, I know that games are incredibly expensive to produce and they're very time intensive. And you've got hundreds of people working at a studio to make a lot of these games, especially AAA games. So it's like the economics are harder and harder to justify from a business perspective, but also I just feel like I'm coming from like a layman's perspective and my knee jerk is like, this feels bad. And why are you doing this? Right. But yeah, now that things are, again, the dust is settling a little bit. I don't know if I necessarily am like, I don't want to pay $80 for Mario Kart like that any way you cut it. I think that's too much for any video game, let alone a game that I'm not super interested in.
But the demographic that plays Mario Kart are going to play it for an enormous amount of time.
Sure.
They've been playing the last Mario Kart for more than 8 years. That was a Wii U game.
Right.
So if we're saying that there's a chance that the next Mario Kart game comes out in 10 years, I don't know if it should, but it kind of changes my mental thought process on the whole thing. Cause I'm just like, yeah, but this is like one of those fucking games and Nintendo's over there. It's like, well, we only do this once a decade. Here you go. And you pay more. But I don't believe that's the case. Cause I don't believe that the next 3D Mario won't be 80. The next Zelda won't be 80.
They're all going to be 80. Yeah, absolutely. They're going to be 80 or more.
Yeah.
With tax, we're talking about a $90, depending on where you live, $90 game, right? And so that's a hard sell for a lot of people. That is a very high price for entry for a video game, right? And I don't know who set those prices like out the gate, the $60, the $70 price tag, but like my argument is like set aside like economic conditions because that's a big part of it that we'll talk about here shortly. But like you can't like when's enough is enough. You know what I mean? Like when do you just say like this is our cap price? Like we can't go any higher. And I think that realistically, they'll find that, right? Whether it's hardware sales, I mean, there is a lot of historical precedent for Nintendo in particular for releasing hardware at a pretty high price for a given economy at the time that they release it, and then immediately dropping the price, right? I think it was 3DS that had real problems, and then they lowered the price like within a couple of months of launch because they were not selling units like they expected to.
Did they also give away free games with it?
Yes, they did.
Yeah, it was a whole fucking deal.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not educated enough on this to like talk about it in like great detail. But what I will say as like your initial knee-jerk reaction is it doesn't feel good. And I don't know how you have two games that, you know, like, how does it feel to be a developer on the Donkey Kong game and be like, our game's worth $10 less? We were fucking blood, sweat, and tears on this motherfucker. Do you see him drill into the ground? That shit's dope. Like, we did an open world Mario Kart game and it's worth $10 more. Like, it's a hard pill to swallow.
What does the red shell do? Well, it tracks. It's been tracking for 20 years.
Yeah, exactly. The blue one has spikes on it. And it's like, great. Did you see that fucking Donkey Kong can fucking drill to China in this game? It's great. So it's, I just don't know, man.
It's tough.
It's very tough.
It's very tough. I don't have concerns about this game being 80. It's all about what this opens the door in an industry that's not thriving.
Right.
And where the middlemen are having a hard time, like those middle games. So
I don't think
those are my concerns on
it. I don't think that raising the prices in the economy that we're in right now, especially given what has just taken place a couple of days ago in the United States in particular, is the right action to get to right the ship, so to speak. That seems kind of foolish because it's like you're pricing a lot of people out in the market with these type of price points. And you could make a lot of arguments about like the development process and like making games smaller, more affordable to make, to find profit there. But like, I don't think that, you know, it's this cure-all for the games industry to just raise the price and expect everything to normalize and for them to post record profits. I just don't think that that's the way you do it.
Well,
okay. We're gonna find out.
We sure are. I want to take a break because I want to skip. We're just long. I need to take a break. We'll come back and we'll talk about how everything got fucked one day later. Okay, we're back, and we're not done talking Nintendo. We just got to continue the mess, because what happened was this announced, they did their treehouse things, they started showing off their stuff, executing their plan. I should note before I get into the next piece of news is that their Twitch chat was bombarded by people saying lower the price of the system, just spamming it, the whole chat. And this is at $450. Pre-orders are supposed to go up April 9th. I believe that was the date, and I was looking forward to it. I'm like, I'm on board. I'm going to get this thing. Let's do it. And Liberation Day hits in the United States, and that's where our president has decided to apply a tariff to everybody is the end result. And extraordinarily high tariffs on certain countries. And the country in question here is quite a few years back, Nintendo moved a lot of their manufacturing out of China, and they went to Vietnam, I believe, to protect themselves from the first Trump presidency, because he was going after China.
Yeah,
but they have an enormous amount in Vietnam, and they have been hit with a 45% tariff, which is shockingly high.
It's reciprocal, Nick. You didn't know? There was a chart. They showed a chart.
It's not how reciprocal works, Jared. It's not we are way bigger than these countries. Of course, we bring more in than we send to Vietnam. What?
Well, yeah.
We are consumers. Have you met us? We just buy fucking everything. Not the rest of the world is like that. So of course we have these deficits in exports and imports. It's fucking crazy. And that's not a reciprocal tariff.
My favorite part is the percentages that they used and framed it as
some chat GPT bullshit.
Well, no, I just think that it's funny that they were like, this is the percentage that they tariff us. And it's like, no, what they used was the deficit, the trade deficit, and framed it as the percentage of tariffed goods from that company. Yeah, not great.
We're the number one superpower in the world. We consume everything. Of course, we have deficits. It's batshit insane, and we're getting mad because it's just stupid. It's fucking stupid. But anyway, this is the world we live in, and tariffs are everywhere. And a lot of people 2 days before were like, "Well, the console's $450 because they've baked in the tariffs." Spoilers: it doesn't seem that that's the answer. Because they announced this, and Nintendo this morning, as of Friday, puts out a message to a few retailers. It's kind of weird. It's not like on their official account or anything, but they're basically saying, yeah, we're not doing pre-orders.
Yeah, pre-orders were supposed to be next week, Wednesday.
Yeah, April 9th. Shit, they basically are like, shit's fucked, and we're not doing pre-orders in the US because of the situation there. And I don't blame them, because the situation is unstable and unpredictable, and it's very difficult to run a business in that sort of environment. So I understand why they would just say, yeah, we're just going to wait. So open the floodgates. Markets are crashing. FYI, like, things aren't looking good, but no one knows. No one knows what this means. No one really, at the end of the day, no one definitively knows that the price is going up. I suspect the price is going up, and I don't see where this falls. I saw some people online saying, well, they sell so many copies of games, they should just take the loss. And it's like, that's not how this shit works anymore.
We also don't know the margins that they're working with either. So that's a pretty fucking stupid thing to say.
Well, the people were saying they should take the loss on the console, and it's like, that's not the world we live in anymore. Manufacturers haven't taken a loss. They haven't taken losses on consoles for a number of generations. That was the deal. I think, like, maybe the Nintendo 64, they lost money on every console or something. That's not how it works anymore. And I just don't believe that's going to fucking happen, which means whatever those costs are, it sure seems like they're going to come to us. And there's going to be a shockingly high disparity. And I think there's examples of this, because I believe it's extraordinarily expensive to buy a console in Brazil. How's that just not going to happen to us?
Well, the answer is, Nick, it is going to happen to us. Yeah, just like really shitty across the board. And then also something that really stuck out to me, I don't know if you saw, but Nintendo is making a region-locked version of the Nintendo Switch 2 in Japan only.
So you can't import it.
You cannot import it because it will only play Japanese hardware or software. And
set us back a decade.
$330 for that model. So you better brush up on your fucking Japanese if you want a cheap Switch. There are some like doomsday fucking articles that I've seen out there floating around in the last couple of days, talking about the potential for the Switch to be around $600 to more dollars in the United States, which oh my God, dude.
What's your price? How much will you pay?
I don't know. I mean, we do a podcast, so it's like, and I care about this podcast. And so like, I want to come and talk about the new hardware for the people that like support us and listen to this podcast. I don't know. I mean, at $600, it's a hard pill to swallow. I'll probably bite the bullet and still do it.
It's a $600 with no games. And then,
yeah.
Well, although maybe.
So $700. Well, more than $700 with Mario Kart
680 Pro Controller 760. You got to get the camera.
I'm not getting the camera, Nick. I'm not getting the camera.
It's getting real serious real quick, because it really big questions come up with. Well, we're expecting this to sell out, and is that discussion changing really quick? If they even release at the same, I feel like anything's on the table at the moment, because we are a huge market for them. So there's just a big problem and a concern here where they're like, we have the potential to sell a bajillion copies to the US. But that discussion changes so much when you say it's $600.
100%. We had this conversation a few shows ago when we were talking about like, where's the threshold? What's the price point? And talking about the competition that is present in the market right now. We're talking about, getting into cheaper Steam Decks out there, right? That you can do all sorts of crazy shit in a pretty free ecosystem when it comes to the Steam Deck, and you're buying into a locked console that is just not as robust, not as flexible, and equally as powerful. It's a hard sell. It's not a hard sell for my weak little baby wrists, because I don't like using the Steam Deck because it hurts my wrists. But but for most people, like, again, we talked about it with the software sales. You're pricing people out of the market. $600 console. We're talking about $600 for the PlayStation 5 Pro.
But Nintendo isn't the only one in this field. So, question: Steam Deck's not going to feel any of the heat from tariffs. PlayStation isn't going to feel any of the heat.
They're all gonna feel it. So everyone feels it. Everyone's feeling it.
That's what I'm. So what does the PlayStation 5 Pro cost?
$1,000
in 2 months. I look at this and I'm just like, well, if that's really the game, and if this price is going to change for US, it's naive to sit here and be like, yeah, it's not a Nintendo problem. It's most likely an everyone problem. And potentially they're all going to be holding press conferences and being like, oh yeah, it's going up.
This is an all of us problem because a large portion of the country enabled a thin-skinned dope to dictate what happens with trade in this country, and tries to, basically commit economic terrorism because he wants to feel like he's in control and have people come and chortle his fucking balls and kiss the ring. So
people are going to be fucking pissed though. Yeah. So, and here's the thing is, I like video games, but I also want people to wake up and understand the pain that this dude's policies are creating. And apparently all the other things aren't enough, like the racism and the prisons in other countries, like that's not enough. But like eventually, presumably, like, is video games going to get people to fucking wake up when it's just like, look, it's this much more because of that fucking piece of shit.
Your Mario's more expensive, motherfuckers. Wake up.
So I'm over here, and a part of me is just like, fuck them. Come out and slap that thing. Tell us it's $700 and say it's that guy's fault and say get fucked. And then everyone could just sit here and be like, well, those are the consequences. And I don't know. It's a big fucking mess, and I don't really know what to expect or what to think. And like, they're gonna have to say, they can't not say something more next week. I don't know how they could get away with trying to still push this thing and saying and going past the pre-order date, and it's not that far out. I was hoping for May, but it's not that far away. It's 60 days of. Yeah, 60 days away, essentially.
Yeah, we're in uncharted territory here, unless you look back at like the early 1900s.
I ain't get a goddamn graphics card, Jared.
You're not gonna get one for cheap. Yeah, but I mean, that's the thing is like, yes, you're right. Hopefully, people wake up and realize like how bad things are getting because of some very foolish decisions made by some very foolish people. But like at the end of the day, the video games is a pretty small importance in the overall problems that we are about to face as a nation.
This is just the first thing that was an immediate flag. It was on like the main page of CNN. It was just like, here's the immediate consequence. And I don't see how we don't see a whole lot more of that real quick, especially with produce. Because produce is such like that is quickly going to show up, and we will see. It's what a time to witness this bullshit. I don't even.
I would not normally say this because I think Nintendo is probably the scummiest of companies in terms of like the big threes.
Damn.
They do a lot of scummy shit. Like, don't like look, I think that they're getting battered right now against the rocks, but Nintendo is not an innocent player in all of this, Nick. Let's not fucking just like whitewash history and forget about all the shitty stuff that Nintendo has done.
I think Microsoft like helps kill people in Gaza though. So
yeah. Yes. I'm talking about the games arm. Sure. When we're talking about like a like an octopus of a company, okay. Nick. Yes, fair. I'm just talking about games, right? Sure, we come here and talk about games. All right.
Yeah.
We save the fucking real serious political bullshit to after the podcast.
It's the last goal.
I feel really bad for Nintendo because they like perfect storm. They just absolutely got fucked. And I cannot imagine to be a fly on a wall in the headquarters of Nintendo of America right now. Everybody's like, somebody call Reggie. Give fucking Doug Bowser. What's going on, Doug? Fucking get Reggie in here. See if he can fix this shit.
I saw a stupid take online on Blue Sky where someone's like, well, why would they do their show the day before Liberation Day? And it's like, who the fuck knows what Liberation Day is? This guy.
What is this, Fallout? What the fuck are we doing?
Know what Liberation Day is? Like we're run by a goddamn fucking lunatic. So that's our Nintendo talk. We don't know where we're at. We don't know how much we're going to pay for this thing. I was looking forward to trying to get a pre-order next week. That's out the window. And yep. Cool. New console. And all the wind was taken out of its cells within 48 hours, at least in the US, because everyone just has nothing but question marks around the whole thing.
Yeah. The best part about this, and like we did this to ourselves. We didn't do this to ourselves, but a lot of people did this to themselves here in the United States. And so it's going to be pretty like you can only take small victories in a environment and climate that we are currently in. And a part of me is going to be pretty happy when like the Europeans are like, Switch 2 because presumably it's going to be pretty great. And they're like, it's a good time. And the Japanese are like, we spent $300 on this and it's great because we can read Japanese. And we're over here being like, it's $1,000, whatever it's going to be.
That's what I'm saying. I'm just
and we're like, we're watching it through the lens of social media, everyone having a good time. And we're over here sad.
I'm just not against just inflicting all the pain. So we just have all these examples. It's like, look what the fuck you did to everything. You're ruining everything. Fucking idiots.
It's not good.
No, it's not. And we've talked for 1 hour and 20 minutes about Nintendo. We're not done.
You want to talk about more Nintendo?
Well, that's what we're going to do. We don't talk about a lot of Switch games because it's kind of, the system's been dying off. But Xenoblade Chronicles X was remastered. Is that what they're calling it? Is that
it's the definitive edition?
Sure. Okay.
But I think that there was like definitely a component of a remaster as well.
They've re-released that game. This is originally a Wii U game. I played it originally. I did not finish it. I was just it's the reason I got a Wii U. I got a Wii U towards the end of its lifespan, and the only reason was for Xenoblade. I just come off the Xenoblade Chronicles, and I was like very excited.
You still have that Wii U?
Yeah. Yeah, you want it? You borrow it?
I mean, I want it, but I don't want to borrow it.
I'll sell it to you for around $600. But I need to hear from a friend of mine, and once I hear from them as to what they're going to sell me for something for, I'll let you know what you owe me.
Hard pass. Thanks.
Yeah. No, I still got it, but I liked the game at the time. It is goofy and has some weird things, and I was really hesitant to kind of. I was just curious to see how you were going to end up feeling about it because it's different than than the other Xenoblade games in a few ways.
That's an understatement.
And it's just very unique, and it has a lot of pretty cool things. And when I played it originally, I just want to like emphasize that it has this map system that you interface with it quite a bit because you're doing these pods, what are they fucking called? So
the probes.
The probes. That's the word. And they are important to the game because
hugely important.
Money is important. Also, this game is better with finances. You were poorer on the Wii U. They've improved some of the stuff, but you really needed to.
I figured as much.
Yeah, you really need to integrate with it quite a bit. And you're doing these mining probes, and you're like linking them together, and it was an incredible way to encourage exploration, because you're just like, I got to get the fuck over there to set this probe, but there's enemies that are way above me, but sometimes you can figure it out. And it was always really cool. And on the Wii U, I absolutely loved the system because the map was always on the screen. So you just look down and you could take the stylus and do stuff, and then look up, and then it was on the TV. It was it was a great form factor. It was a great like an explanation for why this second screen worked on the Wii U.
I wish that was the way this was.
Absolutely, because it was so good, and I really liked it. And then fast forward to this thing, and that's obviously gone. You got to open up the map, but the first thing that caught me with this game is that art style can really go a long ways, because this game's not graphically incredible or anything. Like the facials, animations,
facial animations are rough.
like none of that's special here.
But it's a 10-year-old game. It's literally came out in 2015.
But what I'm saying is, like, the scenery is awesome in this game.
Yeah.
It looks absolutely awesome on extraordinarily dated graphics. And I saw a comparison with this and Halo Infinite. And then it's just Halo Infinite that came out 3 years ago, something like that. But it's way better. Like, if you just look at the two side by side, you're just like, well, I vastly prefer Xenoblade Chronicles X, and you're trying to understand why. And it's just, sometimes an art style is king. Also, Monolith Soft, they are very good at this. Like, they're extremely fucking good at this.
They are the best at this.
I don't think it's close, right? Like,
Elden Ring is pretty good.
That's true.
Red Dead Redemption 2 is pretty good.
There's a list you can make, and they're in it. Like, if you make a list of 5,
100%,
they're there. There was just like, look, it's just continually like, look what they're able to do with drastically less power that everyone else is doing.
Yeah,
because I'm just like this. I fucking love being in the world. I love exploring in the world, and I've had a really good time so far. That's just with the world. We haven't touched anything else. You're pretty much at the same place, it sounds like.
100%. Yeah, absolutely love I think that, I played all of the Xenoblade games now. Mm-hmm. This was the holdout, because I did not have a Wii U at the time that this game originally came out, and very happy to see that it's been finally ported. It's kind of a weird one where we're like at the end of the Switch's life cycle.
Every Xenoblade is on the Switch.
Yeah, it's true. It's like there's just so many examples of Wii U games that they put out 3-4 years ago on the Switch, right? Mm-hmm. So it's kind of puzzling that it took them this long to put this one out. But that being said, I'm very happy, because I think that, I agree with everything that you said. I think that the environment in this game is my favorite environment in a Xenoblade Chronicles game, and it's not particularly close.
I wish you'd gotten a little further in the original one. I'm not sure which one I fall on, but the original Xenoblade Chronicles has some, because of
I finished it when it came out on the Switch.
Really? I didn't think you did.
Or I got very close to the end.
Anyway,
something like that.
The environments in Xenoblade Chronicles were always really cool, because you were fighting on 2 fucking mechs that were like, you're living on 2 mechs, and you're like, I'm on his leg. Yeah. And you could always kind of see like the environment.
Mechanus and Bionis.
Like all that shit was really cool in the first one. I actually don't know where I fall on which one, but immediately Xenoblade X is like, God, they just create these landscapes that are incredible, and a lot of times you can like run up them and get to them and run around them, and it is the philosophy of like, see that, go to there. Like, that is all this game's all about.
100% in the most janky way possible, and like I say that in a positive way. I don't know if it's like intentional. They never like highlight it in the story, but like the amount of jump that your character has is fucking outrageous. You're not working with Earth fucking gravity.
And he floats, and it's awesome. And the best thing they did, which is not a component of the other Xenoblade games, no fall damage. It needs to be in this game, because you fucking fall a long ways frequently, and it would be really frustrating if you died.
Yeah, for sure. It's one of those like kind of janky uh, you know, physics and gravity systems in this game where you literally like there is no like climb mechanic like you would see in like a Breath of the Wild, right? Or something like that. So you're not dealing with like a stamina. It's like, is there like an outcropping of rocks on this mountain that I can jump up onto? There is. Well, I can probably climb and scale this entire mountain just with like my momentum and using my sprint effectively, and then this really like lofty jump. And initially, like when you're exploring the world, it's so satisfying because the probe system that you highlighted, yeah, you have that map, but it's like a grid basically. And the probes are very important because what you're doing is you're going to these points on the map, and there are a lot of them, like quite a few, 100 plus probably. And your core goal is to get to these probes, and then you research the probes, and you drill a probe into the ground, and then you have options of what kind of probe you want to place on these grids, right? And there's various different things that you can use. Like there's a mining probe, which is going to give you more mirium, which is the resource that you're going to use for a lot of different mechanics in the game. You can do a research probe, which is going to increase your currency essentially. And if you're close to another probe, like on this grid, there are benefits and other probes that are like booster probes. So if you set a booster probe in the middle of a bunch of other probes, they're all going to link together, and you're going to boost the efficiency of the surrounding probes, right? So there's a lot of strategy in kind of figuring out how you're going to set up your probe setup.
There's a lot there.
There's a lot there.
There really is a lot there, and it's important to engage with it. And then even on top of that, the entire world map is based on this grid system. Well, one grid has the probe, but then all the surrounding squares have different quests, and they might be like find some wreckage, and you can do that easily, and then that boosts, I think, your returns and stuff.
You might get a probe as well. That's going to help you place more probes.
And then other things which I really like about these games, it can be very frustrating, but it'll be like, hey, you got to take down a tyrant in this one. And it's like, okay, well, what's he all about? And he's like, well, he's level 50.
Yeah.
And he's in the first area. And you're like, why is he here? Why? And they all do it. And I'm just on board for it. I appreciate it. But it's fucking hilarious because I'll be out there killing a wasp, and I'm like doing my quests. And then like the biggest monster you've ever seen just shows up, and he was just like, death now. And he kills everyone. And you're like, where the fuck did you come from? And it's just, there's not a penalty to dying. So it's really, it's not consequential, but it's.
At the beginning, there's not a penalty for dying.
It changes when you have a mech, but like it's very funny. And they've all done it. They're always like in that first area, you're just like, well, that's a fucking T-Rex. I shouldn't fuck with him. He's like level 90.
Yeah.
And you kind of got to go around him, but you really want to go around all these hard enemies because you're like, I got to keep pushing because like I'm in the beginning area. I got to get these fucking probes. I just got to figure out how to properly navigate to the areas. And sometimes you feel like you're cheating a little bit. You feel like you're like, oh, I got this probe. It's so fucking hard to get. Yeah. I got you good. And I love it. I fucking love the probe mechanic in this game. I've made like hardly any progress in the story because I'm just expanding it, because then you can fast travel. It makes everything easier. You get all the probes, and then as you're doing missions, then you can get really close with fast travel. It's all really good, which brings us to my favorite part is the city. And the city, you just have one big city for this game, and it's New Los Angeles. And it's essentially like your ship, Earth got fucked. You're one of the ships to go make a new colony, essentially. And it comes down, crashes, and they start like building New Los Angeles. And you walk into the city, and
that's not how it happens. That there is like this big ship in the sky, and there's a bunch of shit that happens. There's like a mayday situation, and the ship splits apart, and they have this like life, like the city No, it's this. Well, there's a life pod, but then all the city also drops down and creates this giant crater and allows them to like basically emulate Los Angeles.
And emulate it, they do, and it's the most jarring thing in this game where all the other Xenoblade games are very they feel like you're in the environment. You walk into the city and you're like, this makes sense. This is a city that belongs in this environment. This is not like that at all.
You could go to Starbucks and go to Rodeo Drive, and it's ridiculous.
This is just a bunch of fucking hipsters in the middle of a goddamn war zone. And the second you get there, they know what they're doing because the music changes and it's just like they're singing and it's just like, yeah. And you're like, well, what is happening? Like, what?
The
who
music
made this decision?
I think the music is pretty good in this game overall.
It is.
When you are not in New LA. Every single time you go to New LA, the music that plays, there's two songs in New LA, and both of them are equally bad, in my opinion.
They're winners. They're just.
It doesn't fit, and it's like so bad that it's funny to me, where you're just like, oh my God, like please just like stop. And you're in New LA a lot.
There's a lot of stuff to do in there. There's an enormous amount of quests to pick up. There's it's so
too many.
It's so fucking funny that every time you go there, you're just like, bump. And you're like, whoa, are you kidding me? Because some of the tracks when you're out and like you'll get to like new vistas and things, and they're pretty good. They're not my favorite in the series, but they have some good
there's some good music here.
And every time it's just like I go back to fucking New LA and get a coffee and like
go over to Skid Row and fucking hang out with these aliens. That's one thing that's really really pretty compelling about this is so you're on this like foreign alien planet, right? And as you progress through the story in this game, you meet new alien species, and most of them, there are like a handful that are not friendly, but most of them are friendly. And your character's party basically just tells them, yeah, come back to New LA. So when you're deep into the game, where I'm at, I'm just at 80 hours. So I put a lot of time into this game. There's just like a lot of different fucking species of aliens, which is pretty compelling because they're all kind of unique and interesting, and they have pretty varied motivations.
Sure.
And they also kind of infight with other species in the city, which is very funny to me. So it's interesting the way that it's handled. This thing is weird as fuck, but I really like this game. I like it a lot.
I've been having a lot of fun with it. I should note that it's basically like an MMO, like
100%.
It's like a single player MMO, which the first Xenoblade had strong comparisons to an MMO at the time, in the way the combat works.
Yeah,
and this one was really a pretty logical succession to that one. In the combat, in like all the different missions that you can easily pick up, a lot of them. I really like there's exceptions, but a lot of the missions just auto report, and that's all good shit. Some make you jump around.
There are a number of them, but that's one of my big criticisms
is that you have to run around.
Dude, there is so many of them. Like
it depends. Like all the affinity require an enormous amount of running around.
It's not even just that. Like your green. So the missions are categorized by a color. So you have like a basic mission, which it's funny because you go to a terminal in New LA, and you would think that this would be like a like the same kind of, I don't remember the name in Skyrim, but like just a throwaway quest that you would accept, and then it requires you to go and kill some cannon fodder in the environment, and then you get some currency or whatever, and those are just like repeatable over and over and over again. That's the way that the game kind of explains it to you. That's not the way it works at all. So blue quests are like the least important quests, where most of them don't really have a lot of story attached to them. But there are notable exceptions in that giant list, and it is massive. Hundreds and hundreds of quests that you can accept, where there are like tangible story and progression benefits tied to those quests. And if you don't know that, the game doesn't explain that to you.
The game doesn't teach you shit.
You're just kind of like, oh, you just kind of have to learn organically. But yeah, so the blue quests are the most basic quests until they're not. Then there's green quests, which are more story heavy, where you're
gonna be interacting with someone who needs help.
Exactly.
Like, directly.
And then you have affinity quests, which are going to be directly tied to a character in your party. And the way that this game kind of functions is drastically different than previous iterations or future iterations for that matter, where you at the beginning create, which I know you love, you create a nameless protagonist. It doesn't bother me as much as it bothers you.
The character creator sucks shit. My dude is exactly what they're just like, you want to look like this? I'm like, he looks like a douche. Sure, let's fucking do it.
Yeah,
like, it's fucking sucks shit.
Which like all of them function completely differently than that, where it's a named protagonist, and you're working with party members that are also named and have like motivations and stories. This game works where you create a character at the beginning, and then you have a massive list of party members, and they all have names and stories and different motivations and things like that,
and different fidelity levels. Like Elma is a good character, but some of them are just like not to that level. It's like, clearly this is one of you're supposed to be using this one. I mean use them all, but there's a few that are clearly on the A team, I guess.
Yeah.
And that part is extremely frustrating to me, but the story in this game and how it plays it and what I come to these games for, I'm not into it. I'm not into it at all, because I'm extremely into the sequence where they have these high flying set pieces at the end of each chapter. It's very anime. You unlock some new magical power. Your character has a personality. Like I like all that shit in Xenoblade games. This game has none of that. So like, all the mechanics in this thing, I think, is a great time. The story just falls completely on its face for me.
I think that the story is not bad, but I don't think it's great either. I mean, obviously, I think that what they did in 2 and 1 and 3, I played probably 40 hours of that game, and I thought that it was fine. It just didn't grab me in the same way that maybe 2 did. 2 before this was like the pinnacle for the series for me. I like 1, but I think that going back when I played it when it was on the Wii, and I didn't get very far, and then I made much more progress. And again, I cannot remember if I finished it, but if I didn't finish it, I got it very far in 1 on the Switch, like 60, 70 hours, something like that, right? But I think the writing here, a lot of it is pretty good and funny. It's like, there's so many quests here.
It like goes back and forth though, right? Like there will be writing for certain things where like, this is fucking just some garbage ass shit.
Yeah, for sure.
And the delivery is extraordinarily stale. And then there's other affinity things where you see that personality and you see the type of things you expect from the series, where you're like, oh, this is pretty good. And it's just a little bit of whiplash for me, where it's just like, man, some of these are just like rough.
It's just, there's just so many quests.
Oh, it's an unlimited amount of shit.
There's so much shit. So like I said, I'm 80 hours in. So I'm in I just finished chapter 10. In the original game, there's 12 chapters. There are 13 chapters in this one. So there's
they added some shit.
A brand new chapter and a prologue, or epilogue and a prologue in this new version of the game. So, but every single time you finish a story quest, it's like I spend 10 hours in the open world doing like side quest activities, and then it's like, okay, I checked all the boxes, I'm done, and then I go to do a story quest, and I do the story quest, and then it's like, oh well, have fun, here's like 30 more quests that you need to do, right? So it's massive, dude. It's massive.
Also, it's I don't know, this is probably one of the best examples of a game. Like, you and I talk frequently about how we like to do everything, and you do all the side stuff. This game kind of almost requires you to do a lot of side stuff, because some of the environments you get sent into, like, you need to be leveled. And I feel like if you're just trying to do main, which is sometimes impossible because it's like you have to get your research areas up higher and stuff. So like this game makes it very clear that it's like, it's really not side stuff. You have to do some of this.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't have to do all of it, but you have to do a good chunk of everything that this game offers you. There is no, at least to my knowledge, you cannot just mainline the game. That's not really a thing.
You can't.
And also, I don't know. That's really not the reason to play the game. If you want to mainline the game, you probably should just not play the game.
Don't get into it if you're just the type of person that's just like, I just want to see the story and be done.
You need to be obsessed with the systems, and the systems. There's a lot.
There's a lot. This is a beefy fucking RPG. I think it's the beefiest Xenoblade that I played, just from like a mechanics perspective.
It's pretty insane.
There's a lot here. Like maybe I could see the argument being made that there's too much, especially in this definitive version of the game. Well, there's a lot of shit here, man.
And 2 and 3 really went away from armor and sets and all that stuff. Like 1 had them, X has them, but then they've really been like pulling that back and not making it as complex as far as your gear and all your builds. And X is not like that. X, you have all these manufacturers and you're leveling up all the arms guys, so you have access to what they sell, and it's all fashion. Like a lot of it is everything I fucking love, where you can kit your character and then you go to fashion and you just pick what outfit you want to wear, which is like transmog or whatever.
Yeah,
but I love it. It's awesome. It's
really
good.
It's also like the vendor. It's almost like Monster Hunter levels of like customization, and like it doesn't function similarly to Monster Hunter. Really, as the story progresses, you'll unlock new vendors, and they're like you're continually unlocking them, right? I just got a new one through a side quest that weirdly is attached to Back to the Future. Like there's straight up a fucking DeLorean in this game that this alien develops. It looks exactly like a DeLorean, and he goes back to the fucking future multiple times. He's really bad at it as well, which is hilarious. But
he looks like Doc.
No, he's like this big giant brute alien, but he's like a scientist. And you go through multiple chapters in the game, you go through different story segments with him, and then you get to the final like point of it, and he unlocks like a new manufacturer, and then he's just like, here's a bunch of gear for you. The amount of gear that is in this game is overwhelming. This game is just overwhelming. Like you really have to be locked in and prepared to just be beat over the head with mechanics and content in a way that you do not see often nowadays.
And they do not give you proper tutorials for an enormous amount of stuff. There is you'll be well into the game and you're just like, I can upgrade what? I can upgrade arts. I can add all these slots. Like it does not properly really hold your hand like a lot of games would. And when as you keep digging deeper and deeper, you're like, well, that's why I'm fucking getting killed, because I could be way better. I have all these all these battle points that I just never fully understood how to use.
Right.
And even as someone who played 40 something hours of it before, I was like, oh fuck, I remember this shit. I got to go dig. I got to go make sure I'm checking all the boxes to make sure I'm as powerful as possible.
How many hours have you put into this version?
Like 15.
Okay.
I'm not like one of my complaints is I wanted to get through the next chapter before we talked, but I couldn't because they haven't figured out how just the science doesn't allow you to have a main quest and an affinity quest at the same time.
Yeah, you can't do it.
And that's kind of infuriating.
Yeah.
Like what are we doing here? I have 1,000 quests. I have all these side quests, of all these different other quests, and then these one affinities. I can't possibly start an affinity and also do the single player.
Right.
And then anyway,
well, it makes kind of sense because it's like the affinity missions lock you into, not always, but sometimes locks you into like specific characters that you have to have in your party. And the same can be said for the story missions. So it'd be like kind of a conflict of interest and probably break the game. And I would not want to break this game.
They clearly, there's something. But anyway, the whole reason what happened is I couldn't do it because the last thing I needed for this affinity was just to get stuff for my probes.
Yeah.
And that's just a waiting game. Like it was literally, I was just like, okay, well, I guess I'll just go fucking run around. And then I got the payload and then it wasn't enough. So I have to wait again. So I've just been out there running around murdering animals,
Yeah,
waiting for it to tick. But that's all. I mean, it's very entertaining. It's a great time, and I found some good stuff. So
it's like 10 hours. Like I'm not being
10 hours between chapters.
I'm not exaggerating.
I think you're right.
Where there's straight up like situations where you just cannot do the next story mission, which is kind of unheard of, especially when we talk about modern games.
Oh yeah,
where it's like, if you want to just mainline a story in any modern RPG, it's just like, okay, you can do it. There's ancillary things you can do if you want to, but like you always have that ability to get into it. Not so with this. Like,
I appreciate
you got to check boxes before you can go on to the next story beat in this game.
I appreciate that it functions the way it does. It doesn't necessarily mean that I want all games to be like this, but like I'm okay playing this game on its terms. I'm just like, fucking let's do it. But I think it helps a lot that I enjoy playing the game. Yeah. Like if those environments were feeling stale or something, then yeah, I could really have a hard time. But every time I'm sitting down playing, I'm just like, God, this shit just feels good. It's a good time.
For sure. I go back and forth on, is this a masterpiece? And is this just a jumbled fucking mess that I really like a lot?
Why not both?
Yeah, I guess that's a good point. I really love this thing. I really love it. But there are also things about it that I absolutely hate.
It has some huge fucking flaws. Like it's not that, and that's what's kind of interesting to talk about the game, because you're just like, this fucking doesn't make any sense. This doesn't make any sense. I love doing this. I love the carrot on the stick over here.
Yeah.
I absolutely love like constantly finding new areas and just making my ship better, like going and look at which gear I can suddenly unlock. Like it's a really good loop. The loop they have here, it's speaks to me. It really hooks me.
Yeah, and you could put, I mean, hundreds and hundreds of hours into this thing. I think that, like, I haven't finished it, but I think that I can say that pretty confidently. And it sounds like you said people put like 200 plus hours into this thing.
I've been following the Xenoblade subreddit for years and years, and like the people that are diehard that just want to literally do everything are like, 200 hours.
So let's talk about skills. I think it's a big part of the game.
Mm-hmm.
It isn't a big part of the game for 50 fucking hours.
No one knows what a skill is. So you better.
It's a mech. It's a mech. It's a giant robot, right? Which is near and dear to me. I love Japanese robots. Big fan of Gundam and things like that.
What a bold fucking move! What a bold move to have the cover art of your game have this dope ass mech that you get to pilot and like change the colors of. There's all sorts of things you can do, and you don't get the license to operate one for 50 hours.
How about this?
It's fucking crazy.
You're right. You're right.
So
but
crazy.
But how about this? The level of customization that maybe an Armored Core has.
It's not small.
Like maybe Armored Core is a little bit more deep in terms of customization when we're talking about like the totality of the Armored Core series. But when we compare it to Fires of Rubicon, and we talk about this game that came out fucking in 2015, the amount of shit that you can do to your mech is astronomically large and overwhelming, just like a lot of different aspects of this game. But so, and they're like front and center as well. Like throughout the story, like you get to New LA and they're just fucking all over the place. And you're like, oh man, this is cool. And I'm just like on my Lamborghinis fucking running around the environment, just being a dickhead. And everybody, and I am like heads and tails better than everyone here. I'm solving all the problems for this fucking New LA. Like, and then there's this dipshit over here with a drinking problem that's like, I pilot one of these fucking multi-million-dollar mechs. And it's like, well, why don't I get one of these? And
it's crazy. It's literally a quote half the game. And then they give you this. Like, it's probably one of the biggest turns as far as being 50 hours into a game and then having a game be like, well, here's another feature. Like, you always get new features. It's a huge feature to unleash on you that far into a game. I can't think of another game that's like at the 50-hour mark does it to this level.
No,
it doesn't happen because it completely changes the combat. Like, you were texting me and you're just like, I'm just murdering everything. I'm like, yeah, that's a problem. Because that's exactly what I did when I was playing on the Wii U, and then I would end up getting myself into trouble because I just felt overpowered.
Yeah,
and which leads to the problem, which I'm curious to hear from you, because when your mech was destroyed in the Wii U version, there was a monetary cost that was quite high.
There still is,
and it was I figured there was still a cost, but I've heard they tweaked the numbers. How's it affecting you? Is it a problem or is it okay? Because it was a problem for me.
So
on the Wii U.
Couple things. So your entire party can have mechs. So it's not just you.
Super funny to only have you in the mech.
There's sometimes rude, where
right, because you're like flying and they're just chasing you.
There are. Did you get the flying ability?
Yeah.
That's a fucking game.
That was my problem. I kept killing myself because of the flying ability, but yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. When you can just that I just got that like yesterday or 2 days ago. When you first get the mech, you have two abilities. Like, you can, and it depends on the mech. Like, I will say this, but you can just like walk very slowly on the ground, which like you're in a mech, so you take big strides and you cover more ground than you would if you were just like walking on the ground. But the other mode of transportation is like there's a transformer like mode where you turn into a car, and it controls so badly. They're trying to implement the warthog mechanics. Where it's like twin. Well, no, it's like twin stick, right? So you're like controlling one aspect of the warthog with one stick, and then the other aspect of the warthog with the right stick. The warthog is fantastic. Like, that was a game changer when you first got in a warthog in Halo, and you felt how like seamless and nice it felt to control that shit.
You just point to where you want to go. It was pretty simple.
Oh my god, yeah, but there was like it was a little bit more complex. You could do like a lot of really cool things, like maneuvers and things like that. That was a game changer at that period of time in gaming. They try to do it here, but it's so fucking herky jerky in car mode that I just hate using car mode.
I never did car mode. I know I didn't do that. I know I was able to fly. I don't know how I leapfrogged that though.
Well, you get car mode from the get-go, at least in the definitive edition.
I don't remember ever doing it, but maybe I mean, it was a long time ago.
You just click in the left stick and you literally transform into like this car, and you can like move around. It controls so badly, and it's like a point of frustration for sure. But then you get probably like 20 hours into having the mech.
Does that work? Because the environment doesn't lend itself to a car. So like, are you getting caught on shit?
Sometimes, but then you can quickly like switch out of the car and boost yourself up in the air and then land. But to be clear, we're talking about like the boost is there from the get-go. Like, you can boost yourself up in the air to a certain degree and get up onto things. Sure. I'm talking about like you get straight up jetpacks that allow you to literally like fly to the high, like you can just maintain your altitude and stay in the air for an unlimited amount of time.
Maybe I only have the jetpack.
The boost, you mean? Yeah, you get it because you said that you quit pretty early on once you got the skill.
Yeah, I almost want to pull it out and see what my time played is.
Yeah, because you have to do like a pretty long story. It's a side quest, a blue side quest to get
you could presumably not do.
Yeah, which like the whole scale thing is completely optional too. Like, if like the story pushes you towards it, where they're like, hey, you can become a scale pilot now after 50 hours, but it's completely optional. You don't have to do it. But yeah, so like you get the ability to just fly around the environment, and until you get the ability to just fly, like wholesale fly, you can't unlock all of the points on the map. I just got
you can't get to them.
You can't get to them.
Early on, there are probes where you're like, well, how the fuck do I get onto that island in the sky.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So it sounds like you got it then if you figured that out. Mm-hmm. So but yeah, like to go back to your question, I know we got off topic there, but to go back to your question, yeah, like so if you die, you have 3, so you buy a mech and it costs like I think the cheapest one's like 1 million currency, whatever the currency is called in this game, which is pretty high. Like it's not cheap. It takes a while to get to that. Once you get like a pretty robust grid of probe setup, it's not crazy, but early on that's a pretty penny. And you have 3 insurance on your mech. So if you die in your mech, you do not have to pay to rebuild the mech, essentially, right? Because when you take damage and the mech basically explodes, you can eject, and then the mech is gone, and you have to walk around in the environment until you go back to New LA, and then you go back to like the barracks, and then you can use insurance. From what I have gathered, which I'm pretty sure is accurate, you are only subject, the player character is only subject to insurance. Your party, if they're in mechs and they die, they're fine, and you can you can rebuild the mech and put them into it, no monetary cost. Once you get through those 3 insurance, you spend 3 insurance essentially if you die 3 times, then it's like 200,000 currency to rebuild the mech. So like if you're early on in air quotes, it can be prohibitively expensive.
It's more as like it's a learning curve of how to use the mech, how to succeed with the mech, because you get this high powered thing and you're testing the waters. Immediately you're like, well, how much can I fuck up? There's a lot of big brontosauruses out there. I gotta get them. I gotta fucking go out and get them, right? So you go out there,
you get those motherfuckers.
And my experience,
they're minding their own business. Like, they deserve to die.
I would get because they're never aggressive. It's the ones that are so big they're not even aggressive to you. And you're like, well, your fucking neck looks good for a rocket. And you go out there, and my experience when I played it originally is like kept going up and up, and then I kept killing myself, and then I got frustrated because the monetary cost was extremely high. And maybe we should look up later like what the changes were in how money works, because I just remember being like, it wasn't that it was too high, it was that I could no longer afford a mech, period. So then I was like, well, this fucking sucks.
I haven't ran into that where I couldn't afford it, but the other aspect to it that is nice is there's an online component to this game, and I don't know if it was in the original base game, but it's a pretty big component here, which I haven't messed with at all. So I can't talk about it. I plan to talk about it or at least try it. And if it's worth talking about, I will in future episodes. But it's always online, basically, in a weird way where like you can play offline and the game's completely available to you, but there'll be like a notification that will show up on your screen and it will say, hey, you have rewards from the online, and
it steers you to the menu.
So which is you go smart. In there, and then you get insurance vouchers. And you get it works very similarly to Monster Hunter, where you get like a login bonus every day that you log into the game. You get a bonus, and I've been just getting like pretty much every single day that I've logged in, I get a voucher for the Skell. So like if the Skell is destroyed, which doesn't happen very often now, but it did originally, and I did have to pay out of pocket, which hurt my pocket when I did do it, because I mean, 200,000 to 300,000 currency is expensive still. But now, like, if it does explode and I have to eject, I just use one of the vouchers. It's free. So it hasn't been a big thing. And then additionally, I have mapped the entire map. So I have probes in every point on the map.
You've got an enormous amount of income coming.
I got a lot of income. I mean, like, my passive income is close to 100,000 per like day. So like it really, I think I'm sitting on like 10 million currency. So like if I got to pay
It's
200,000, it's really not that big a deal.
it's such a unique and interesting game, and I really, if people have a Switch and have any interest in what we've been saying, you really should check it out because I don't really have anything to compare it to. And it's pretty awesome. And if you can come in and like work through some of the weird, quirky parts, you're probably gonna have a real good time as long as you jive with how the combat works. And some people are gonna probably immediately bounce off of that MMO style combat. I like that combat, so like for me, that's not an issue. I enjoy those cooldowns and all that stuff.
Yeah, the combat is the most traditional aspect of this if you compare it to other Xenoblade titles. Like if you played a Xenoblade, the combat is very similar. At least it functions very similarly.
I don't actually like it. I don't like switching between a sword and a gun. I wish I was just the dude with the awesome Xenoblade. Like that's what I prefer. And
you just wish you had the Monado, is what you're saying?
Yes, okay. Yes, because it's cool as shit.
Yeah, the Monado is pretty fucking cool. I've been looking at it this entire conversation.
It's literally behind.
Yeah, there it is.
I mean, it's always cool. And in that first one, it was like every chapter he would unlock some new ability from it. So you were like, oh, this is fucking really cool. But
yeah, I don't know. I mean, like in its totality so far, I think that it's my favorite Xenoblade game, with the exception of the blade mechanic in Xenoblade 2. Like, because that was very like scratching the Pokemon itch for me.
The combat system in Xenoblade 2 is quite good.
It is good. And then just like that, there's so many unique blades that you can find, and it requires a lot of grinding and a lot of stupid shit, a lot of giant pig killing to get the best blades.
Their stumble was attaching it to a non-monetarily advised gacha system. It was just like very weird. It was like, you're not charging me money, but I'm still playing a gacha game. It was very odd that they created that slot machine.
That was the first one I finished, and I like it quite a bit because of that mechanic. But goddamn, this thing's good, dude. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think people should really they should go check it out. It's a cool thing.
One last thing, it runs incredibly well. I was like very surprised because these games are just full of like these broad, grand environments that are beautiful to look at, and it's not just like unpopulated either. There's like monsters, giant brontosauruses, like you said, and all sorts of weird shit on the screen at any given time. And Xenoblade 3 ran like absolute shit.
Yeah, this game makes me more sad about Xenoblade 3 because Xenoblade 3 looks better, like graphically it looks better, but it ran like shit. And this one just is like, this works, and
it runs really well on the Switch. So maybe better that I can't really remember. I think that 2 ran decently with like hiccups, and I think the original Xenoblade Chronicles ran pretty decently.
Yeah, I didn't have any problems with Chronicles or 2. 2 as far as frame rate wasn't a problem. 3 it was where it was like, we're into the teens / single digits, and noticeable downgrades of resolution, and that's what got me on Xenoblade 3, where it was just like, this is like borderline blurry. Like, what are we doing here, guys? Like this thing is not ready for the system.
It kind of works because the combat system is like fairly slow when you compare it to other combat systems in like JRPGs.
Yeah, it's not minute to minute or second to second,
but still. I felt the same way with 3, where I was just like, this thing is fucking chugging, man.
For sure.
And it kind of blows me away with this thing because there's a lot going on screen and a lot of things happening. And outside of like a very small amount of instances, have I visually noticed that the frame rate is dropping significantly. So you got to highlight that. So
pretty impressive. People should check it out. We've gone pretty long, but we have one more game. We'll probably talk about it for an hour, and I will never remember the name. Nibby's Numbers. What is it? What the fuck? What is this? Numbers by Nibby. What is
Nubby's Number Factory?
Nubby's Number Factory. We were talking. I think we were playing Monster Hunter, and you're like, you got to play this, and I was like, all right, I'll check it out. So I went and used that on the Steam Deck, and I stole it from your library, so that was nice. And this is if you've played Peggle, that's within the ballpark. I think the mechanics of Peggle are a little better, but this game's goofy and it's very kind of quirky. It was made by one guy. Seems like it was made by one guy.
I think so, yeah.
And I think during the tutorial and through the game that I played, like his face is like constantly on the screen doing reactions. But essentially, you're just shooting this ball at these pings or like a plinko
shooting
type deal,
balls
right?
at other balls,
like balls at other balls, and you're trying to get a score on each level, and then you're able to kind of get upgrades and buy equipment, almost like a Balatro or something like that, where you can have a build, I guess, and you can get pretty unique ones where you really can do really well, and there's a little bit of RNG there and understanding what you're doing. It's a very quirky game. I played it for maybe I think I played it for 2.5 hours straight. Like I played it one night. I just went down and played it. I had a fantastic time. I thought it was a great experience. I have some complaints, but like generally I was like, this thing slaps. It's pretty fun.
Yeah, it's a pretty good time. I am very, very fond of Peggle, so I generally agree with
Peggle's
you.
dope. I didn't play Peggle 2. Did you play Peggle 2?
Oh, fuck yeah.
I did not play Peggle 2.
I played all the Peggle, Nick.
Peggle's dope.
Yeah, aside from the aesthetics of Peggle, but like the
you know, like the unicorn?
Not really. No, not really. Even though that was like very memeable at the time.
For sure.
In the early to mid 2000s when that shit dropped. I do love Peggle. And there really hasn't been a lot of games. There's like a couple of notable games that have tried to emulate it. This is the thing that I have found that has really scratched that itch as much as Peggle did, right?
For sure.
The key thing with this game is you have a board that shows up, and you have one shot to clear it. Basically, you have lives, but if you fail to, there's a number that you have to reach.
You don't get it doesn't compound. Like if it says 1300, you have to get 1300. If you don't get it, you lost a life, and then you have to get 1300.
Right. Exactly. So you've got to do it in one run, essentially, to go to the next board, which is really satisfying. Especially if you have some like really high, because as the game kind of progresses, you get higher and higher numbers that will generate on your board. So like, you might, as you progress, you might need 30,000 in one shot. And you'll have a couple of blocks or orbs that will be like 1,000
or 10,000
or exactly. And then couple that with like the modifiers, like any good roguelike or Balatro. I think that I compared it to Balatro when we were talking about it because it's just very quick, right? Like it's a fast process.
It's very quick, and there's a build.
Yeah, there's a build.
You are getting items and skills that you are then catering it to. I'm going in this direction, so this is what I would like to have happen as I play through the game, and it's pretty satisfying. I still think it's overall it's like a less than a lot of these other like it's not quite.
I agree. Like
it's not quite as precise or optimized enough. Like I feel like even the mechanics, like when I'm aiming, I was like, man, some of this should just feel a little better.
Well, it's literally Plinko. You know what I mean? Yeah. So like you are, or Pachinko, for all of our Japanese fans out there, which I don't think we have any, but maybe we do. Who knows? Talk to us in the Discord if you're out there.
They're all gonna be playing their Switch. They're gonna take us. They're playing a $330 Switch.
But yeah, like it's very random, and RNG is not even the best. It's like physics based. So like, you can shoot the ball, and if it bounces if you shoot Nubby, it's Nubby. If you shoot Nubby and he fucking bounces in the wrong direction,
there's RNG in your items.
There is.
So like,
sure, yeah.
If you're trying to do a certain build, there's absolutely going, just like in like a Balatro, there's going to be times where you're like, oh, oh fuck,
Yeah, but
I'm looking good.
I think that it's more satisfying with like RNG and cards is more inherently more satisfying. And maybe it's because it's more commonplace in like day-to-day, life. Most people have played some sort of traditional card game in their lives.
Sure.
And so it's like immediate. That's like kind of the brilliance of Balatro, in my opinion, is it's like you're taking something that is immediately recognizable to a large swath of people, and then you're taking all this crazy, well, not butchering it, but you're taking all these crazy modifiers and taking something that is relatively simple and elevating it.
Yeah.
Where this is like more, you're relying on the physics of that ball to go where you want that ball to go.
It's just
and some runs just
you're relying
fail.
on a lot of oh shit, Price is Right fans to be
Plinko. It's the Plinko,
a whole shitload of them.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. So it's different, but it's also the reason why I thought that you should check it out and why I gravitated towards it was like it scratches that itch in a lot of ways.
I mean, I started at like I put my daughter to bed. I went and I started playing at 7:30 or 8, and I stopped at 11. Like, because it was just like, this is good. There's something here.
Yeah.
And I don't know what there are some. You get some currency as you play through it. I never like completed a run, and you can buy other people or something.
Well, if you
modifiers and things.
If you beat the game, you get that weird developer with like so it's just a dude's face, and then they've like he animated like these very clearly not real sunglasses on his eyes, and he makes like all these weird herky jerky motions. So if you do something really cool, he does this like it's probably at like 10 frames a second.
It's super cheesy. It's real
choppy. He like reacts to whatever you're doing on the screen, which is very satisfying. If you clear and beat the game, you get more of those people. It's just like different people's faces.
You can already see them, like, because I was like, all right, well, obviously something's gonna happen here. So.
Yeah, it's a good time. I think people should check it out. It's cheap. I think it was like $7 or something like that.
I think it's worth the price of admission. Like, immediately when I was playing, I was like, I could probably easily play this game for 10-20 hours because it's pretty fun.
It's a good time. It scratches that Peggle itch if you've got that Peggle itch.
Where
the fuck is Peggle? What's going on with Peggle?
Peggle should come back.
Zynga.
I didn't play Peggle 2 though, so
does Zynga still exist?
I don't know.
Zynga, even the company that developed Peggle, I'm pretty sure it is, but I'm not completely sure.
Didn't Matrick go to Zynga and run it into the ground?
I don't know.
I thought Matrick announced the Xbox One. It tanked, and he's like, "Well, I'm going to go over here," and then he ruined Zynga, killed Peggle, and now I think he might be in charge of tariff policy in this country. I don't know.
Sure. Fuck that guy.
Fucking.
So I don't know. Check it out.
Absolutely.
It's worth checking out.
I think it's a long show. We had a lot to talk about. That is going to be Gamescast 151. Thank you for listening. If you want to come talk to us in the Discord, there should be a handy link in the bio or show notes, all that stuff. And we are on YouTube as well. Come and find us. That's going to do it. Take it easy, guys.